cricket in America, it's full on Michael Scott at this point.
I declare bankruptcy!
That was the cherry on top of a not particularly great summer in which USA Cricket was suspended by the ICC. It spent an inordinate amount of time beefing with American Cricket Enterprises, the owner-operator of Major League Cricket, you know, America's domestic league, over a contract they very much signed, and the team hasn't played any games since the T20 World Cup way back in summer 2024.
Ain't this some shit?
Oh yeah, all of this is unfolding when the men's team should be preparing for the 2026 World Cup, which is coming up here in a few months, and the women's side has a crucial qualifier that could see them reach the women's T20 World Cup. I needed a bit of help trying to make heads or tails of everything that has transpired in recent times, and who better to assist me than Peter Della, Penna, the foremost authority on all things US cricket related. He's been covering this side, the sport in America, for 16 years now, and if there's anyone who can explain what's happening, it's him. So what's happening?
Same stuff that's been happening for the last 16 years, ever since I started covering cricket in the country. And this is old hat. We've been here before in American cricket. If you think back to the previous iteration of a governing body, which was the USA Cricket Association, they shaved off the last A, but that didn't really do much in terms of the behavioral aspect of American cricket governance. So USA Cricket Association, USACA, they were suspended in 2005, 2007, and then the third time was 2015, and that was the final straw for them. 3 strikes and you're out. After the 2015 suspension, they were expelled in 2017. And when the ICC tried to readmit a new governing body, new in quotation marks, they shaved off an A. Instead of being USA Cricket Association, it was just USA Cricket, as if that would change something dramatically in the behavior of a lot of people.
The changes made by USA Cricket were all surface level. There was a lot of shuffling around of names and faces, but no real tangible steps were taken, and that's why, of course, we find ourselves back in this situation.
The lack of engagement, the apathy, and administrators seize on that. That's part of the reason why they can rise to prominence, because it doesn't take a lot of votes to get elected. If you think of things, a lot of the numbers, the ICC always has fun with numbers, Cheyenne.
They do. And they love numbers.
They, some of the numbers you see thrown out during the World Cup last year when USA was co-hosting, where, there's, depending on the interview source, you see, there's 15 million cricket fans in America. Now there's 25 million cricket fans in America. Now 30 million cricket fans that are going to be entertained in America by co-hosting the World Cup. Now it's 50 million cricket fans. It was like an auctioneer. I got 10 million, 50 million, 25 million, 30 million, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55,
Sold!
Whoever wants to read them buy in. 50 million cricket fans. That means 1 in every 7 people in America is a massive cricket fan. Really? You can just walk by 7 people on the street and then you're guaranteed that one of them is going to be a diehard cricket. That's quite interesting. And when you consider especially the fact that there are less than 20,000 registered members of USA Cricket, voting members, okay? So they'll throw those numbers out, 50 million cricket fans. They'll throw out that there's over 200,000 amateur players.
Well, USA Cricket and the ICC partake in some dubious mathematical calculations. There are real numbers that show cricket just might be onto something here in the States. The T20 World Cup in 2024 and the crowds that do attend Major League Cricket games are proof of that. Sadly, when things are going poorly, like they are right now, fans do not have a way to voice their displeasure. This situation, of course, is contrived by USA Cricket.
There is not a groundswell of people who get fired up about these things to the point where you see them on the news with signs in the street, down with USA Cricket. You're not seeing fans show up to games with paper bags over their heads, saying fire the coach or, get rid of the owners, sell the team. I'm tired of being a fan, because fans don't show up to the games in general when USA is playing outside of the World Cup.
In the defense of that, USA Cricket's not playing games. I mean,
there you go. They can't show up to games to visibly protest because they're not scheduling games to begin with. Since the World Cup, they've not scheduled a single match against the full members. So, where are they going to protest? Where are you going to see them? They're hidden by design. This is part of the scheme from the people in charge. They don't want people to be seen. They don't want to be engaging. They had an opportunity to have a Netflix documentary following them around during the World Cup last year. They turned that down. Why? They like to operate in darkness. They like to be a cloak and dagger operation. They don't want visibility and exposure to highlight the malfeasance that's going on. They prefer to be anonymous, despite paying lip service to, oh, we want to grow the game. We want to be a big sport. We want to, crack the mainstream and have kids playing in schools across America. But what? No, in reality, they much prefer being able to operate in the shadows.
With the ICC telling those shadowy figures to get lost, at least for the time being, they now oversee the United States cricket. And this has created a situation that may be somewhat familiar to baseball fans out there.
It could be a Montreal Expo situation where, the MLB was quote unquote in charge, and they appointed Frank Robinson to be the manager for the Expos, and when they were on the verge of shifting to become the Washington Nationals, and nobody owned the team. So it was MLB is in charge of the Expos, and here they go. And MLB is essentially running the team. And with the Expos, it was like, well, who cares? Because they're one of the worst teams in the league anyway. So it's not like MLB is giving them special treatment to make them a playoff contender or World Series contender.
Interestingly, there is some substance behind USA Cricket's claims that Ace may not be living up to its end of the deal. The highly touted $1 billion investment the sport was due to receive, well, let's just say the figure isn't coming anywhere close to that, no matter how creative you want to get with the accounting. Stadiums have been another sore spot in this relationship. The deal between Ace and USAC stated the former would build at least 6 ICC standard 6,000 seat minimum cricket grounds in America by 2024. It is, it's past 2024, and it's safe to say they aren't even close to hitting that target. There is Grand Prairie and not much else. Seattle is slowly making some progress. Same with Frederick outside Washington, D.C. Pomona and the Fairplex plans that are related to Olympics hosting cricket in Los Angeles are a work in progress, but overall the situation has been disappointing.
They've got one that they own in Texas. They used Oakland Coliseum temporarily. They used Lauderhill temporarily this year. They don't own either of those venues. Those were already pre-existing. Okay. And Florida is kind of a weird one because there's no franchise in Florida. So similar to Morrisville, North Carolina, how sustainable is playing games at a neutral site venue if you don't have a franchise that's technically based there? So contractually, Ace has dropped the ball on what they guaranteed in the contract, 6 ICC level stadiums. That was the exact wording. ICC standard stadiums by 2024. They got 1. So they have not held up certain ends of the bargain on their side of things.
This single stadium and a few other borrowed grounds used here and there has certainly created some confusion. Also, having teams with multiple cities in their name not playing in either one of those cities probably isn't helping matters either.
My brother, who's a big sports fan. I've got 2 brothers. One of them, they're both sports fans, but they could care less about cricket in the grand scheme of things. They know that I work in cricket, but they don't really pay attention to cricket or watch cricket or anything. And that's fine. But I remember when MLC was first launching, I had a conversation with one of my brothers, and he says, I heard there's a cricket league that's starting. Somebody at work mentioned he's got a bunch of colleagues who are South Asian in his line of work, and cricket will sometimes come up in water cooler conversations, and he's curious. He's actually been more curious to learn about cricket from his work colleagues than he has from me, knowing me for 40 years, which I find fascinating. But so what motivates him to kind of reach out to me and start asking cricket questions is not anything to do with me. It's his work colleagues. So, I remember having this conversation with him, and he says, hey, these guys have been mentioning this cricket league starting up, and there's going to be a team in New York. And I said, well, team in New York, there is a New York team. He says, well, where are they playing? And I said, Dallas. All the games are going to be in Dallas. And he says, okay. This is kind of a long silence. He's just trying to process that. And he says, okay, what is this MI New York? What does the MI stand for? I say, Mumbai Indians. Another silence. Hang on a second. this team is supposed to be called New York, and they're going to be playing all their games in Dallas. How is that possible? I say, that's a great question. He said, hold on a second. Wait. Did you say also that their team name is Mumbai Indians, New York? So yes. He goes, wait, so they're claiming they're from New York, but they're also claiming they're from Mumbai. And wait a second. Indians? That's racist. You can't call a team Indians in 2023 in America. This is literally just on the heels of the Cleveland Indians being renamed the Cleveland Guardians and all the fear that was caused from years of campaigning with the Indians having their name changed from the Cleveland Indians to the Cleveland Guardians. So he's like, wait a second, that's racist. You can't call a team the Indians. So, how are they getting away with that? And he's not the only person who has said that or who's brought that point up, who comes from kind of what you would consider outside the cricket culture. Yeah, they'll come across these names or these links, and they're like, wait a second. When he found out MI New York won the title, he's like, is there going to be a parade? Like, what's happening? Are they going to come down the Canyon of Heroes like the Yankees and the Giants? Hey, we went to celebrate the Giants Super Bowl win in 2012. We went, camped out in New York City on the sidewalks, and we got to see Eli Manning and Brandon Jacobs and all the guys, Justin Tuck coming down on the floats. And are they going to do any of that for Quentin DeCock and Mona Patel and Nash Kenjige and Karen Pollard and Nicholas Port? No.
In fairness, the positives of Major League Cricket and what Ace has accomplished in recent times far outweighs the negative. And by comparison with what USA Cricket has been up to, it is absolutely night and day. Among its best moves was playing games at the Oakland Coliseum this season. It was far from perfect, but the efforts were commendable, and the efforts did produce results. Getting more than 30,000 people to turn up across the 7 dates MLC ran at the beautiful old stadium were proof positive they may be onto something.
I say MLB's trash is MLC's treasure. I mean, the Oakland Coliseum is derided as a horrible venue. My experience there covering it for cricket was 99% better than all other cricket venues I've covered cricket at anywhere in the world. Press box was amazing. The media facilities were amazing. The fan experience was amazing. Having concession stands, selling stadium food, and anybody could get their Modelo beer and hot dogs and pretzels, and a lot of the fans and people I came across an interview in the stadium. How did you get here tonight? What was the experience like getting in and out of the stadium? I just took BART from my office, took BART from home. There are a lot of students, college students. I took BART. There's a BART station near my campus, and it was easy. This was great. And if I didn't have BART, I probably wouldn't have come out here. But the fact that BART was accessible, why wouldn't I come? So all those kind of things, got to applaud MLC for, coming to an agreement with a venue like Oakland Coliseum. It was, like I said, by far the best cricket venue quotes that I've ever covered cricket at. I honest to God, my experience at Oakland Coliseum covering cricket there was better than covering cricket at Lord's and covering cricket at Kensington Oval in Barbados when I got to go there for the World Cup last year to cover the USA England and USA West Indies matches, and you name any other cricket venue around the world. I would say Oakland Coliseum was by far the best experience I've had in terms of work facilities and other accommodations for media that I don't get in other cricket grounds around the world. But that's still just a second venue, as a home venue. The Unicorns using that as a home venue. Dallas Super Kings have a venue. Where are the other 4 venues? Come on.
If there is one area cricket is failing the most, it is merchandise. And this is not just a USA issue or an MLC issue. It permeates the sport just about everywhere you turn, especially when you compare it to other sports and how they have leveraged merchandise into brand visibility and brand building. Wearing soccer jerseys in the States became the thing to do in the 2000s. It would be a conversation starter which allowed soccer fans to spread the gospel of the game. And in America, sports merchandise with jersey, t-shirts, hats, whatever, they're really a badge of honor.
When I was going to New York Giants games growing up and New Jersey Devils games, you didn't have 80,000 people showing up in khakis and a pea coat. Okay, you had people showing up wearing
Danny
LT
Canal jerseys.
Oh, please don't say that. Those people did exist. Yes, this is true. There were some Danny Canal jerseys and some Kent Graham jerseys and some Kerry Collins jerseys. I was actually a big fan of Kerry Collins. Kerry Collins jerseys, and then progressed to Eli Manning jerseys. But you'll always see some LT jerseys in the crowd. Yeah. And you'll always see some Carl Banks jerseys. And these are fans who are, diehard lifelong fans. And you would see the Rodney Hampton jerseys and the Jesse Armstead jerseys and the Michael Strahan jerseys. And, the point is people buy stuff because they're supporting the team. It's their tangible representation of, I love this team. I want to show everybody this is how I'm supporting the team. Cricket does not have that. It's, to me, a sign that, one, the merchandising is poor. When I went into the World Cup venues in New York and Texas and Florida, I saw the stuff on the racks and I thought, like, good God, like, who would want to buy some of this stuff? This is terrible. And I talk to people and say, I would stand outside and I'd interview fans like, oh, did you buy anything? Or, why didn't you buy anything? Oh, have you been inside there? It was awful. Like, not only was it overpriced, but the stuff was ugly. I wouldn't want to be seen dead in that stuff. And the one thing I did want, a USA jersey, they weren't selling. Why were they not selling any USA jerseys? Or, I wanted to buy a Nepal jersey. They weren't selling it. Why were they not selling a Nepal jersey? When I went into the MLC merchandise store, I posted some of these pictures on Twitter.
So, I'll put them up. I'll put them up right now.
The pictures in the MLC merchandise shop at Oakland Coliseum and at Graham, it was pathetic. It was embarrassing. There was literally a handful of items, and I talked to MLC officials, and I brought this up repeatedly with them. And behind closed doors, they readily admit, they say, we've dropped the ball badly on merchandise. We need to get our game going.
Merchandise is one of many issues which root cause can be traced all the way back to cricket's leadership, the group who seemingly do everything in their power to shoo away new fans. Others will try to gatekeep and insist new fans know all the rules, that they need to know every last law there is about cricket before they can even think about watching the sport. Yet, if an American, and not just an American, but if any person new to the sport can navigate their way past all of those obstacles, ignore that noise, there is something that clicks when they just go out and watch a game.
On the ground, people are really enthusiastic. It's the administrative level where the problem is. I mean, you're talking about the MLC crowds. I vividly remember in Texas, I forget if it was year 1 or year 2, but there was a guy who was from Louisiana. And thick Cajun accent. He was decked out in all LSU gear. And he had been brought there by one of his Indian coworkers who invited him to come, hey, come watch the game. And he'd never seen a cricket match before in his life. And, I don't want to make him sound like a caricature. I think from talking to him, I think he had traveled internationally. So I think he was vaguely aware of what cricket was, but he'd never been to a game. But he made it clear, LSU football was his number one sport. He's a big Joe Burrow guy and all that. And, he had LSU stuff from head to toe on. And when I talked to him, he made it clear LSU football is his number one thing in life. And he came to the game in part because LSU football was still 2 months away from starting, so he had some time to go. But I asked, what do you think? Would you come back? He said, absolutely. He said, this is great. I love this. And I said, what do you like most about it? He's like the energy in the crowd. He wasn't even talking about the on-field action. He's like this crowd is so noisy. It's amazing. The passion these people have. I love it. And I'm so happy my friend brought me here. And I said, well, is there anything, you would change or you think could be improved? And he said, they need cheerleaders. We need to get some cheerleaders out here. And I'm doing my best Bobby Boucher, water boy, Louisiana accent.
You're going to love cricket. You're going to love the Big Bash League because cheerleaders almost caught on fire in Adelaide or something. But there are cheerleaders in the IPL has cheerleaders.
Yeah, exactly. But he's like, yeah, what could I not love about this? I got beer here, and I'm drinking my beer, and I'm with my friends, and we just need some cheerleaders, and that would make it would be brilliant. So many people get wrapped up in like, unless you know the LBW law in the first 15 seconds of coming to cricket, we don't want you here. You shouldn't probably be here. When in reality, the social aspects of going to a sporting event, like, are cricket like they are most other things. Why do you go to a football game? Why do you go to a baseball game? I'm not going to a baseball game solely so I can watch, zone in on Jacob deGrom and watch him and never take an eye off a single pitch he throws, and or Tarek Skubal or whoever. Pick your pitcher, pick your hitter, Shohei Ohtani, Pete Alonso. I'm just gonna watch Shohei Ohtani. I'm gonna stalk him for 3 hours. Wherever he is, when he's in the dugout and he's not pitching in between innings, or he's not pitching that, I'm just gonna get my binoculars on. I'm just gonna zoom in on Shohei Ohtani. What is he doing in the dugout? Was he the guy behind the gambling thing? Did he blame it on his translator? Is he placing bets on his phone in the dugout? What's going on? People go to the games, NFL, baseball, in part to watch the game, but in part it's a social experience. You're there with your friends. You're there with the community of people. One of the greatest things about going to an NFL game or a college football game isn't the game itself. It's tailgating before and after the game. Cricket people sometimes get wrapped up in like, you got to watch every single ball. If you go to a test match, unless you watch all 90 overs, unless you watch all 540 deliveries and, from every single over, and you do not take your eye off a single one, you're not allowed bathroom breaks. You're not allowed to go up and get food. You must sit in your seat and you must stay awake and watch every single ball. And you are not allowed to do anything else. Like, no, that doesn't happen at a test cricket match. It doesn't happen at any cricket. People go because they go with their friends. They're going to drink beer. They're going to have a good time. They're going to socialize. And I saw that with this LSU fan and countless other fans at MLC games. And I think it's a great disservice to sports fans in general that there's almost like a condescending attitude of like, yeah, you're not going to appreciate cricket if you don't know the LBW law. You might as well not buy a ticket. No, go for the social experience. Go to enjoy it with your friends. And along the way, if you absorb some of the on-field action and you appreciate it and it opens your eyes and you say, oh, well, this is kind of cool, or it wasn't what I was expecting, but it's actually quite unique, and I would come back because I'm enjoying the on-field action. I'm enjoying the sixes getting hit into the ground. I'm enjoying the ball hitting the stumps and the stumps lighting up and, Bower taking a wicket. I enjoyed that athletic catch in the outfield. I enjoyed this and that.
Just watching someone who doesn't know cricket, when someone lines up at silly point, is like, they're just like, what the fuck is this guy doing? Like, why is he so close? Like, he's gonna die.
I remember taking one of my best friends and his then fiance to a test match at Old Trafford. It was an Ashes test. I think it was 2015. And we were on like the second level, and we had an elevated view, and one of the Australian guys puts on a helmet, gets in at silly point, and she was like turned on. She was like, ooh, that guy,
sexy guy.
This guy's macho.
This is a man's man.
This is a real man. This guy's manly. Like, ooh, I want to meet him. And like this, the fiance was getting kind of insecure. Like, Jesus Christ, like, I'm supposed to be married in a couple months, and you're talking about this guy like you're gonna leave
Travis Head's gonna steal my girl
because he's fielding at silly point, and you see that as the height of being macho and being manly. There's all sorts of things that people absorb and interpret and open their eyes watching any form of cricket, test match, T20 or otherwise. And the goal should be just to get them through the gates, whether it's to watch the guy at silly point who's suddenly your definition of what it means to be macho is now going up a level, or you're just hot and bothered and you don't know why, but you like it.
It
used to be you thought being macho was being a 250-pound linebacker, tearing a quarterback's head off coming around the blind side. Now it's a guy fielding at silly point is now redefined what it means to be macho. Whether it's that or just being at the cricket to socialize, having a beer and having a catch up with your friends. There are so many reasons to go to a cricket match, and a lot of those social reasons I don't think are highlighted enough.
That's the brass tacks here. Cricket in the United States has had some success. I mean, not a great deal of success, but there are certainly positives. And just imagine what could be accomplished if those running the sport knew what they were doing. USA Cricket needs leadership, not leeches. As far as ACE and MLC are concerned, they've certainly made some progress. They have accomplished a number of positives, but it's time for them to hold up their end of the bargain in full. Now, what happens next? Who knows? History shows us don't be overly optimistic or you will be disappointed. Yet, there's still enough of a silver lining to where I think some of us just might be optimistic as it relates to cricket in America. I guess what I'm saying is there's a chance for what it's worth. Anyway, if you'd like to hear the full discussion between me and Peter, where we go on about a number of other topics related to cricket in America, check out the full video in the upper left-hand corner of your screen. And make sure, if you're not already, go check out Peter. He's on X, he's on Facebook, Crick Info, Dream Cricket. His work is outstanding. He knows so much about American cricket. I'm a huge fan of his, if you can't already tell. All of that information is in the video description. Finally, thank you for watching this video. Until next time, I'm Shine Hollis. This is the Touchback, and as always, hashtag take it out to the 25.